Hello everybody, and welcome back to Starmain. Just kind of talking about stuff, completely unscripted, to myself, or to my VTuber, or not VTuber, PNG tuber, that's what it is, about D&D shit, because I want to, because I wanna. That video where I did over the subclasses is still doing pretty okay. I enjoyed making. I enjoyed talking about D&D stuff, or D&D stuff. And this is all just a learning process for me. Anyway, as you can tell from the description and the title and all that, thumbnail and all that jazz, I'm gonna be going over the new spells. I thought about talking about circle casting 2 during the video, because circle casting is a new thing as well. But I decided there are people with better, more comprehensive takes on it than I am. For my quick take, I like it. I think it's fun. I think it adds a lot of interesting things you can do with your party members. When it turns to, in terms of teamwork, and just having it in my mind where the potential cool scenes that can make as well. Of like people helping each other cast spells or working together to make a lightning bolt bigger or something like that. It's good brain flavor, because I'm one of those people that likes to play animations in their head and stuff like that. Anyway, yeah. And again, proving I'm more of a variety person. Even though right now it's just gaming and D&D stuff. I'm sure maybe I'll do some reaction videos or something at some point, especially when it comes time around for like gaming conferences or those big gaming things. Though I'm very, very likely to live stream those, cause why not? Honestly, cause why not? But yeah. Anyway. I hope you like the video, or like me rambling. I'll be sure to put little things to skip all this ramble for anybody who doesn't want to hear it. But for those of you that is hearing the ramble, that's just for you. Sorry. Anyway, let's get right into the stuff. So, the first spell first of the new spells is Alustriel's Mooncloak, and do correct me if I'm saying that name wrong, because I'm sure I am. Honestly, I'm very sure that I am saying that name wrong, because I have no idea how to say this name. But it's a 5th level abjuration spell for Bard, Druid, unscripted. Bard, Druid, Ranger, and Wizard. Has casting time of 1 action, targets only yourself, verbal, somatic, and material, and costs a 50 gold or more moonstone. Concentration up to 1 minute. Oh, and by the way, I should preface, I'm not really an optimizer or anything like that. I like to know what's good by watching certain YouTubers that I've recommended before, but I'm more concerned with, here at my casual tables, we're more concerned with like the story and the fun of it all, because it's good stuff. It's good stuff, because why not? Anyway, for the duration, Moonlight fills a 20-foot emanation from you. Emanation means aura, basically. It's an area of effect around you. Originating for you with dim light. While you're in the area, your allies have half cover and resistance to cold, lightning, and radiant damage. While the spell lasts, you can use one of the following options, ending the spell immediately. Liberation, when you fail a saving throw to avoid or end the frightened, grappled, or restrained condition, you can take a reaction to succeed on the save instead. Or Respite, as a as a magic action, you or an ally within the area gains hit points equal to 4d10 plus your spellcasting modifier. I like Mooncloak. I'm just gonna call it Mooncloak. I do like Mooncloak because I always appreciate more support options in my game, in my brain. I enjoy them, and I think it's pretty alright. You get a 20-foot aura around you that gives everybody half cover, which is +2 to their AC and dexterity saving throws, and resistance to 3 damage types. Cold and lightning are semi-common-ish. You'll have it when you need it. And radiant damage, not as common, but yeah, it's whatever. The +2 to AC of everybody around you, I like it. I do. More abjuration spells are always good. I honestly would like more of them that do more cool protective shit. I would enjoy if they would broaden out those type of spells. Saying that, I am not sure if just ending the frightened, grapple, or restrain condition on a reaction is worth a 5th level spell slot, because that's not a cheap spell slot, you know. You'd be like level 9 when you'd be level 9, and 5th level spell slots aren't cheap. So while the protective effect might be pretty solid, at least to me, who knows, it might be not great for a 5th level spell, but I like it. I like it anyway. But ending it just to end the frightened, grappled, or restrained condition seems a bit of a waste to me. And Respite is better if you really need the healing. I could see it, but I still think for a 5th level slot, I'd rather concentrate on this stuff for as long as possible. The +2 to everybody, depending on what kind of party dynamics you have, it could be really, really cool. Sorry, I'm taking those headphones off. I just realized I don't like them on me while I'm just talking about stuff. Anyway, that's unimportant. I warned you to be unscripted. But yeah, I think it's an okay spell to me. I don't think I'd ever use Liberation, even if like a party member has one of these going on. I mean, maybe depending on the scenario, I guess. Like it's good to have the option there, but I don't know if I'd want to end this entire effect just to do that. But Respite is a good emergency option, I think. Respite is a good emergency option. The healing might not be where I would enjoy it. I think maybe if they just gave it another D10, it could be just a bit better, especially since you're ending a 5th level spell. And if you wanted to heal somebody, you could just upcast like a healing word or a cure wounds, especially a cure wounds or something at this level, and that'd be quite a lot of healing to somebody. Yeah, on to Backlash, which is a 4th level abjuration spell for the Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. The casting time is a reaction when you take a reaction which you take in response to taking damage within a range of 60 feet. Components are verbal, duration instantaneous. You ward yourself against destructive energy, reducing the damage taken by 4d6 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. If the triggering damage was from a creature within range, you can force the creature to make a Constitution saving throw. The creature takes 4d6 force damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. And it upcasts. Oh, by the way, Mooncloak doesn't have an upcast. Okay. And you get an extra d6 for every spell slot above 4th. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Backlash is that great, because a 4th level spell slot, also not cheap, especially like early on, or not even early on. I mean you'd be 7th level. That's not bad. By the time you get access to 4th level spells. And I feel like you could use your reaction for better things, like shield, just to not take the damage in the first place, you know. You could just cast the shield spell, which is a first level spell, and you can just not avoid taking the damage altogether if it's an attack roll, or if it's a big amount of like one of the other damage types, like fire or the associated energies and stuff, I would just cast like Absorb Elements or something, because Absorb Elements just gives you resistance to the incoming damage, which could block more damage than the random roll of 4d6, because that could be as low as 4 and as high as, what is it, 24? As high as 24? Yeah, I think that's good math. Could be anywhere from 4 to 24 damage, whereas, like, you could just reliably half the damage with Absorb Elements as a first level spell as well, and then, Absorb Elements gives you some extra dice on something afterward. But yeah, I don't see Backlash as that worth picking up or casting. The only thing I could think of that this might be worth taking on is an Abjuration Wizard, because of the Arcane Ward. If you cast Abjuration spells, you recharge your ward again. So you could cast Backlash. If your ward is already damaged, you could have Backlash, and then you kind of get a double whammy of you cast Backlash, your ward you get the extra hit points to your ward again. You're reducing the damage by 4d6, and then it hits your ward, which could result in you taking no damage at all, right? That's the only case scenario I could see taking Backlash. And then the extra damage to returning the damage to somebody is a whatever. It's a Constitution saving throw. There's a lot of monsters and everything with very high constitutions and Constitution saving throws, so but yeah, Abjuration Wizard I think is the only case scenario where I think this could be a potentially better spell, cause the Arcane Ward gets hit points back, I think like double the spell slot you used, Abjuration spell you used. So this would give you 8 points of your ward back, which at the level of you'd be at level 7, your Arcane Ward, if you've got a decent intelligence, like +4 or so around here, your Arcane Ward would be somewhere around like 18 or 19 or 17. And so returning 8 points back to you, returning 8 points back to it it's not a terrible trade, honestly. Plus you're reducing the damage by whatever this is, then you recharge the ward, then the damage hits the ward. I don't know if that happens in that order, but that, like I said, I'm not an optimizer. I might not be perfect. These are just kind of my opinions, and I appreciate you being here to hear them. Anyway, that's enough about Backlash. Move on to Blade of Disaster, a 9th level conjuration spell for Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. It takes a bonus action, ranges 60 feet. Schematics are verbal and somatic, and you can concentrate on it for you. It is a concentration spell for up to 1 minute. You create a 3-foot-long blade-shaped planar rift that lasts for the duration. Here's within range of your choice. You immediately take up to 2 melee spell attacks on one against each creature or object within 5 feet of the rift. On a hit, it takes a 10d6 force damage. And it can score a critical hit on 18 through 20. And as a bonus action on later turns, you can move the rift and repeat 2 attacks with it. And it can harmlessly pass through any barrier, including ones created like Wall of Force. Okay. Blade of Disaster. I don't know exactly how good Blade of Disaster is, because, again, not an optimizer. Don't know that specific optimization on this spell immediately. However, Blade of Disaster is fucking cool. It's just a cool spell. You shove your hand into space-time, just take it, rip it open a few ways, and you create a freaking sword out of the rift between space, and then you just send it to attack people. What do you want me to say? It's cool as hell. I would definitely just take Blade of Disaster. Like, the Blade of Disaster is definitely on my list of things I would take on maybe like a Blade Singer or something. Why? Just because it fits the theme. I've got my sword, and now I've got a sword made out of space-time that is going to rend you asunder. I mean, come on. It's like one of the coolest spells you could... Yeah, you know, swords are freaking great. Swords made out of space-time, amazing. You become freaking Virgil, and you're just cutting through space. And you know, screw anybody that gets hit with Blade of Disaster. And yeah, I mean, because of that, and Blade of Disaster, it has been a spell we've seen before. I think it originally was in Icewind Dale or something, and then got into Tasha's. So I don't remember specifically. I do not remember specifically, but because of that, I don't actually got a whole lot to say about Blade of Disaster other than it's cool as fuck, cool as hell. And I would just take it if it fit my character for the 9th level spell. But let's be honest here. As far as I know, a lot of the statistics say that not everybody is getting to these kind of levels, so that's a shame. But it's a cool spell. Let's move on. To Cacophonic Shield, a 3rd level evocation spell for Bard, Sorcerer, and Wizard. Casting time of an action, range of self, components verbal and somatic, and duration is concentration up to 10 minutes. Thunderous reverberations fill a 10-foot emanation originating from you for the duration. Whether the emanation enters a creature's space or whatever creature enters the emanation or ends its turn there, the creature makes a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 3d6 thunder damage and has the deafen condition. What's deafen do again? Get here, blah blah blah, whatever. On a successful save, has half as much damage only, and a creature makes a save only once per turn. When you cast a spell, detonate a creature unaffected by it. In addition, you have resistance to thunder damage, and any ranged attack rolls against you are made with disadvantage. So, Cacophonic Shield, I think, is a cool spell. And if it isn't obvious, I have read through all of these. I'm not reacting them for the first time. I'm just making a video on them because I want to. I think Cacophonic Shield is a cool spell. It's basically a slightly smaller Spirit Guardians for bards. I know wizards and sorcerers and wizards can get it, but let's be real here. Bards. Bard spell. It's screaming cacophonic, thunder damage, 10-foot aura of sound. It is just begging for your bard to just go fucking ham on the lute or the guitar or the violin or just banging the shit on the drums, going ham on whatever instrument they got, playing a song mid fucking battle, and then getting this aura of sound, protective sound around you, or slightly protective sound around you. And you can choose the people that hear in my mind, my flavor for this is you're choosing the people that can just kind of hear the song. You can choose the people that can hear the song at like a normal volume, where they can just appreciate it. But for your enemies, fuck them bitches. They get hit with their sound waves and can't hear shit but my tunes. I would love that. I'm taking this spell on a Valor Bard or like a Dance Bard every time, because I'm gonna be up there hitting people with the Dance Bard, or I'm gonna be up there hitting people with the Valor Bard, because Dance Bard has bonuses to unarmed strikes, and the Valor Bard gives you a bunch of weapon proficiencies and extra attack and all that stuff. I'm going to be casting Cacophonic Shield because Spirit Guardians is a fantastic spell. It's frankly really strong, right? Everybody knows Spirit Guardians is really strong. Reduces everybody's HP. Not HP. Well, I mean, by nature of damage, yes. But reduces everybody's speed around you, and then people just take radiant damage all the time. People have been on about Spirit Guardians being a strong spell forever, and it's only gotten stronger as they defined how like ping-ponging people in and out of the radius works. So now we got another Spirit Guardians. It does slightly less damage. Doesn't reduce creatures' hit points or anything. Or, I mean, speed. That's what I mean. But you get resistance to thunder damage, and all ranged attack rolls against you have disadvantage. So, in a way, slightly weaker than Spirit Guardians, because honestly, nobody gives a shit about the deafen condition. Its effect is kind of niche. Automatically fail any ability check that requires hearing. Yeah, I mean that I don't know. This is a combat spell. I mean, it's duration for up to 10 minutes, but which is neat that it lasts that long. But I don't know why. Deafen condition doesn't mean anything. Anyway, you're doing slightly less damage, but you get resistance to a damage type, and all ranged attack rolls are made with disadvantage. That's like the main one weakness of Spirit Guardians, is that you theoretically, monsters or like a giant or something could just huck a boulder at you, or shoot you with arrows or blast you with magic and shit like that. But for in my brain here, my bard is gonna throw this on. I'm gonna want to get into combat people. I'm gonna want to slash people up. They're gonna be taking thunder damage from my sick ass song that I'm playing in my other hand is going on, and then anybody else is gonna have disadvantage on trying to hit. Anybody else is gonna have disadvantage trying to hit me because my sheer presence of sound waves is freaking fucking up their arrows and stuff like that. Or bouncing the fucking rock off me from a giant if it tries to throw a rock at me, and etc. So I think Cacophonic Shield is a cool ass spell, and I would take it. And I know I've been focused on bards. I'm aware. Again, I read it. Sorcerer and Wizard got this too, but come on. This is a bard spell. This is the most bard spell possible. But yeah, Cacophonic Shield is great. Love it. Moving on to Conjure Constructs, level 3 Conjuration Wizard spell. Only wizards get it. A casting time of an action. I hope they add this spell to the Artificer spell list whenever the Artificer comes out later this month. At least for early access anyway. Though I don't know if they. I would hope so. But I don't know if they will, because the Artificer book was supposed to be out already, right? So I'm not sure. Anyway, this reads as an Artificer spell for me, and they're in half caster. Like, you might as well just give them Conjure Constructs. Come on. Maybe they will. Their components are verbal, somatic, and material. Range of 60 feet. Concentration up to 10 minutes. You conjure a bunch of robots and assorted stuff. Modrons, constructs, golems, whatever. And then whenever you cast a spell as a magic action on subsequent turns, you can command the spirits to take... Wait, hold on. Unexpired spells within range. Last duration. When you cast a spell as a magic action on subsequent turns, you command spirits to target one creature or object you can see within 5 feet of the spirits and create one of the following effects. Deryan must fail a dexterity saving throw, taking 3d6 force damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. That's Clockwork Force, or Otherworldly Orderly Ward. That's what it is. You gain temporary hit point equal to 1d6 plus your spellcasting ability modifier, and when you move on your turn, you can also move the spirit 35 feet into unoccupied space. So, wow, the flavor of this spell is fantastic. Having a bunch of like swarm of like little robot insects, or like a Necron scarabs or something. If you like 40k stuff, like summoning a bunch of Necron scarabs around you and to do this kind of stuff. Wow, that is cool. For my reading of the spell, it doesn't do anything when you cast it for the first time. It says when you oh, never mind. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. When you cast this spell, and forget that entire whole argument. Sorry about that. But yeah, even then, I'm not sure how great 3d6 force damage on a failed save. Like, you could do this one, like, literally, just going back up the Cacophonic Shield, which wizards also get. I understand it's a smaller aura around them, and this is in 60 feet, but 3d6 force damage once per turn as an action. If this was if activating these effects was a bonus action on your turns, that would make it great. I would take that. I would definitely probably take this spell in the right kind of character that I think that's flavor would fit. But because it takes an action to force people to make just a saving throw against just 3d6, or want temporary hit points to one person equal to 1d6 plus your spellcasting modifier. I don't like. There's tons. Like, you could be concentrating on haste. You could be concentrating on any number of other spells that are probably more effective round to round than this one. If any, the damage, like, as a 3rd level spell, if I wanted damage, I could just throw a fireball or a lightning bolt or something like along those lines. But temporary having a spell that constantly gives everybody, that you can give everybody temporary hit points all the time, is pretty good, I think. And in fact, I built a character recently that, even though I don't think the spell is that great, I did literally just build a character last night that I took a wizard that I just took the spell on just because it would fit the flavor. And they are, like, I built them to be more of a protector wizard because they're an abjuration wizard. So giving everybody temporary hit points there all the time, and then also having my arcane ward to throw around to protect my allies, it was kind of like the build that I made. Not specifically casting Conjure Constructs all the time, but you know what I mean. I think. Yeah, I was just like, sorry. I kind of I have to reset sometimes. I have to say a bunch of garbage and then I gotta reset my brain. Anyway, and then you get an extra d6 for each spell level above 3rd. I don't know how worth it this spell is. I'm interested to see some optimizers go over these spells and pick out which the ones that I should keep my eye on and whatnot. But I think the flavor of this spell is really cool, but I'm not sure if Clockwork Force is necessarily fantastic, because it requires your action to do. If this was a bonus action, then this spell would be probably pretty good. Given one person temporary hit points, a bonus within what is it? Within 5 feet of the spirits can create one of the following specs. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's the effect is that great. The flavor is, though. And that's not what I'm here for. Honestly, sometimes that's just what I'm here for, is to get a spell that, like, fits my vibe or the vibe of the character that I'm making. And so I literally I took this on a wizard last night that I was building just for the hell of it. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say on Conjure Constructs. Yeesh. And we move on to Death Armor, which is a level 2 necromancy spell for sorcerer and wizard. Casting time of an action, range of touch, verbal, somatic, material, and it requires a onyx gem worth 50 gold or more, which the spell consumes. Duration for an hour. You get an EQ aura, advantage on death saving throws, and once per turn when a creature within 5 feet of the target hits the target of the melee attack roll, the creature takes 2d4 necrotic damage. Well, now, I appreciate that this spell is non-concentration. It's a little buff that you throw on somebody. Necromantic buff you throw on somebody. And it's not, it's pretty situational. Advantage on death saving throws, and once per turn, whenever they get hit with a melee attack, they take the attacker takes 2d4 necrotic damage. The spell on its own, like, I could see it's a second level spell. Once you get higher, that can be kind of that can be those you can safely expend those. Anything is fine. I wish the necrotic damage was a little more, because you're already being hit. So why not make this like 2d6 or 2d4, or I mean 2d8 is what I mean. And also maybe a few temporary hit points, like a better like this is just the upgraded version of False Life or something like that. Maybe a few temporary hit points would have been nice, along with advantage on death saving throws or something like that. The issue, however, that I think makes this spell not very good is a 50 gold is having to need a stock of onyxes worth 50 gold, which the spell consumes. And you get this as early as level 3. Now, you know, how much gold you get per, like, in your games might vary. I mean, I know there's some DMs that give out, like, ludicrous amounts of gold, but in my games, I still, like, on my 7th level character that I play every Monday, I still only got like 300 gold or so. So this spell, for a not great effect, the flavor, of course, always sick as hell. You know, you can flavor death armor to look like so many other things, sick as fuck. But it is very expensive. Spell consumes. If you would just remove spell consumes, then people might use this spell. But I think as it is, probably not. I'd probably not. Or they could have given it concentration. They could have given it concentration or something, and then changed out the buff a little bit. Made this be like 2d6 or 2d8, and each time the target gets hit. You could have given this to the Warlock and too. It could have been like Armor of Agathis, like a cool version of armor, like an upgraded version of Armor of Agathis, because that's a first level spell, I think. Where it does this stuff, it does this shit, and then also no upcasting. That's also a thing. No upcasting. You couldn't have even given it if you wanted to cast this spell with a higher level spell slot. You couldn't have given it just more necrotic damage or something for being hit. Like death armor, cool name, cool flavor, of course, but missed potential. I think just sad missed potential. But I still like. I'm not fond of this spell because of this part right here. This is already kind of expensive for a level 3 character, I think, depending on the table, of course. Some DMs throw out gold like candy, but I really think this should have just been a spell that you get the onyx worth of 50 gold, and then you're good. You can cast this as many times as you want to. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think the effect is broken enough or powerful enough to have needed, like, to prevent people from casting this multiple times on their allies, you know, like expending all your second level slots to cast this on a couple allies. You couldn't even given the freaking, I know it's a touch spell, you could have given it upcast that you could have cast this on multiple people. Yeesh. Big yeesh. Big yeesh is all I've got. Anyway, moving on. To Deryan's Helpful Homunculi. It is a second level conjuration, cleric, and wizard spell. Casting time, action, or ritual. A range of self. Verbal, somatic, and material. Powdered gemstones worth 100 gold pits, which the spell consumes. And one set of artisan's tool with which you have proficiency. Duration of 8 hours. You summon a group of helpful spirits that last for the duration. Here is homunculi or other constant of your choice that are intangible and invulnerable, and considered to have the proficiency in the Arcana skill with a set of artisan's tools used in the spell it's casting. If you are crafting an item, the spirits function as a single assistant for your crafting, having the crafting time. This spell I don't think is... I mean, obviously it's situational. I mean, if you've got downtime to craft an item, it could very well be helpful, especially if you need to have that item available faster. I could very much see... Oh god, a yawn's coming! Ah! Sorry. I got attacked. So, I'm not gonna rat on it too much, because honestly, I think it's a cool spell. I honestly wouldn't mind more situational spells like this, where they help out. This one, you just have it as a help you out crafting. And I understand. Apologies for my reaction about spell consume. I understand. They probably added this here to prevent you from constantly just casting this to have half your crafting time. That's probably the purpose of it being spell consumed, right there. Especially because I'm having trouble to figure out what exactly to say about helpful homunculi, because it obviously is a niche spell, not meant for like every campaign, meant for every situation. Because not every campaign gets a lot of downtime to craft stuff. Not everybody wants to interact with crafting, but if you want to, it's a good spell. If you got the money for it. But anyway, moving on to Dirge. Dirge, my favorite Baldur's Gate character. Oh well, player character. I honestly, it's really hard to play Baldur's Gate as anybody but Dirge for me. Anyway, 6th level enchantment spell for bards and clerics. Casting time of an action, range itself. Components are verbal, concentration up to 1 minute. Deathly power fills a 60-foot emanation. That is a big aura. Originating you from the duration. When you cast a spell, you designate creatures unaffected by it. Any other creatures can't regain hit points while in the emanation. Whenever creatures enter the emanation or ends its turn there, creature... get out of your prone condition. Makes a constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 3d10 necrotic damage and has the prone condition. On a On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and its speed is halved. A creature makes this save only once per turn, and then it has special bonuses for circle casting. If you have a minimum of 2 secondary casters, the spell cast is a circle spell duration concentration up to 10 minutes. Creature that fails that save against the spell's effect also gains an exhaustion level. Well, while the creature has exhaustion levels, finishing a long rest neither restores or lost hit points nor reduces the creature's exhaustion level. So, and then it requires other casters to expend a spell slot. So, this spell is very reminiscent of Spirit Guardians and whatnot, those kinds of spells that are just AoE effects of a bunch of damage and inflict some kind of addition. Prone condition is kind of funny. You're just like every turn, you a blast of necrotic sound forces you down to your ass. That's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. And they can't heal. And they're on successful cage. Blah blah blah. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, and then even if they do succeed, they take half the damage, but their speed is still halved, which is pretty neat. But I'm not sure if it's worth a 6th level slot for this, because even though it's got a massive aura around you, huge, fucking like wacky huge. In fact, 60-foot emanation. That's a massive aura around you. However, I don't think that's good for this spell if you're reusing it in combat. Because if it's a massive aura around you, sure, you think you'd catch a bunch of creatures and you have it in there constantly. But you can't because the aura is so big, it's hard to kind of like have your allies ping pong them in, where they like go out and then enter it again and stuff like that. Because the aura is so fucking huge, it's gonna be hard to do something like that. However, I'm not sure if it's worth a 6th level slot on its own. However, it is fucking nasty if you circle cast it, because every time they fail at save, they get an exhaustion level. And if they fail 6 saves over 6 rounds, if you have got a long combat, people just start dying. Granted, it's a Constitution saving throw, which is pretty, like I said before, pretty common saving throw for monsters to be good at. But yeah, it's potentially very, very, very lethal. And also, every exhaustion level, right, remember, they get like a -2 to everything per exhaustion level. But it's still, especially since it requires your helpers to expend a 4th level, minimum 4th level spell slot as well. That is a strong effect. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very expensive one. But it on one hand, guaranteed death to whatever is in whatever inside here if they continue to fail the saving throw, which is going to kind of compound on itself, because if they fail one saving throw, the next time they make the saving throw, they're going to have a -2, and then they're going to have a -4, and then a -6, etc., until they die. So, and then whatever other shenanigans you can do to cast even more minuses to the saving throw, or make them have disadvantage or something. Potentially very, very lethal to have. Like if you were just fighting a boss fight that's going on for a while, you cast this on round 1. You guys cast this on round 1, and you protect the concentration for the spell somehow, some way. Then like that, the boss is like, if you not guaranteed to die in 6 rounds, but like they if they fail one save, they can continue to have a worse chance on the next saving throw, which is, I think, pretty interesting. And then also, they can't regain hit points inside here, and this is no saving throw, nothing. You can't do anything about this, is not being able to regain hit points. And you can designate which creatures are unaffected by it. So, but you're safe. For you and your allies are all safe. So I don't know. I keep thinking about the spell, and I keep finding cases where it could be good. It's just expensive. It's just an expensive spell. At least to get its true nastiness. The exhaustion level per fail. That's really, really, really nasty. But as for the rest of the spell, I do think it's funny to have constantly be knocking people on its ass. I think the damage could be a little better for a 6th level spell, but again, nothing can regain hit points. You're constantly either giving them the prone condition, or half as much damage, or having their speed, and then if you get your buddies to circle cast it, exhaustion levels. So I don't know. I'll have to see what other people think about it, because it's in a weird spot for me where I definitely could, depending on what character I was playing, I definitely would take the spell, or I think I would take the spell, because it doesn't cost me anything. No costly components for this kind of effect, which is great. I wish it had some upcasting though, like just adding another D10 just to have the option. Not that I think it'd be great to upcast it, but it'd be nice to just have the ability to. But yeah, on to Doomtide. Doomtide is a 4th level conjuration, bard, cleric, and warlock spell. At casting time of an action, range of 160 feet. Not 160. I promise I can read. 120 feet. The components are verbal, somatic, and material. And then a concentration up to 1 minute. You create a 20-foot radius sphere of inky fog within range. The fog in magical darkness lasts for the spell's duration until a strong wind, gust of wind spell, which is a 2nd level spell. Your 4th level spell can be blown away by a 2nd spell level spell. Be careful, guys. And each creature within the sphere must make a wisdom saving throw, takes 5d6 psychic damage, and subtracts a d6 from its saving throws until the end of the next turn. On successful takes, half as much damage only. The creature also makes a save when the sphere moves into its space. When it enters the sphere, blah 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 blah. The sphere moves 10 feet away from you at the start of each of your turns. And then if you cast it as a circle spell, requires a minimum of 5 secondary casters. In addition to the spell's usual components, you must provide a special component, a string of 3 black pearls from Pandemonium, which the spell consumes. The spell's range increases to 1 mile, and duration increases until dispelled. No concentration required. Casting of Doomtide as a circle spell, and they all must expend the 3rd level slot. Now, for a player, this spell is okay. I think it's a 4th level spell. I imagine there's probably it is a lot of psychic damage. It is a pretty sizable chunk of psychic damage potentially. And then the effect of 1d6 from its saving throws could result in it constantly failing the saving throw. It's a big darkness. This is kind of like an upgraded version of darkness and then Hunger of Hagar. Sort of. Hunger of Hagar might be better. I'm not sure. I don't know. Actually, I think Hunger of Hagar is probably a little weaker than this because this thing moves. This thing moves around. Yeah. It walks 10 feet away from you at the start of each of your turns. I mean, if you had the movement somehow, you could run around the spell. You can kind of aim it, It goes away from you, so if you're you can kind of aim the direction the thing is going. And then if it passes by the enemies, if you have a way to teleport a fairly decent range, or move and then teleport to the other side of the spell again, then it starts moving back, right? I mean, you do not get the chance to. This spell is dangerous. It's freaking huge, and moves around. So you might have to be careful casting it with allies around, but you can sort of control which direction it's going. And I don't know, on the right character for the right flavor, I think it's all right. It's definitely a spell that affects the battlefield in a very meaningful way. Giant sphere of damage darkness. However, again, can be dispelled by a 2nd level spell. Just goes away if a strong wind is around. So that's a big downside. However, circle spell, the chance of you having 5 secondary casters are very low, especially with NPCs and stuff. So I don't know if definitely not going to be that way. However, I would say this is a good spell for a DM. Yeah, it's a good spell for the DM. However, it's definitely a spell that speaks to DM for having a cultist casting in the circle spell. Increases the spell's range to 1 mile. Oh wait, I see what. Duration. Yeah. Increases the spell's range to 1 mile. Now, that's not increasing its radius to 1 mile, because that would be fucking ludicrous. It's increasing its range, so you would have this Doomtide running around the city somewhere, just going through the streets, fucking horribly, if this is cast in a city, 5d, no, not a lot of NPCs are going to be surviving 5d6 psychic damage. So you're just gonna have people dying in the street. It's definitely like a centerpiece spell, sort of, to stop somebody. Like the plan is to stop this cult from casting the spell and wreaking havoc across the city or something like that. But it just seems like, I don't know. Could be a good spell. It definitely is cool, but very, very obstructive to your allies. On top of being able to be dispelled by a gust of wind. But it's magical darkness, and pretty big, and runs around. So very disruptive spell to your allies, I think, is the main thing I'm kind of concerned about. But I mean, it's cool. It's cool. Doomtide, man. Doomtide. Bring in doom and a tide of darkness. But it's definitely, I think, a spell more interesting for a DM to cast. To like have as a centerpiece, like I was saying, for the party to stop. That's kind of where my thoughts go. Anyway, next to Elminster's Effulgent Spheres, 6th level evocation, druid, sorcerer, or wizard spell. Casting time of an action, range of self. Components are verbal, somatic, and material. An opal worth 1,000 gold that this spell doesn't consume. In duration of an hour. 6 chromatic spheres orbit you for the duration. While the spheres are present, you can expend spheres to create the following effects. So you basically have 6 charges of either absorb energy or energy blast. When you take acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, you can take a reaction to expend the spears and give yourself resistance to the triggering damage type until the start of your next turn. Or energy blast. As a bonus action, you can send one sphere hurtling towards a target within 120 feet. Make a ranged spell attack. On hit, takes 3d6. I don't know, guys. Spell ends early if you have no spears remaining. I don't know, guys. I think this spell's kind of a stinker for a 6th level spell. It's very expensive in spell slot. 6th level spell. Very expensive to get the thing, but at least it doesn't consume it. Lasts for an hour. You get a bunch of things. And I guess the big thing is it's not concentration. You just throw this on you, and then you get mutable resistance to all the common damage types, and could potentially throw a sphere as a bonus action. But I don't know. I mean, I could just cast absorb elements to do this. You're only gonna have like 4 first level slots, but I don't know. Not sure. I am not sure about this one. I really don't know. Not sure. Nope. I don't know. I just don't think it's they could have made this some like they should have added at least like all the other damage types like psychic, force, radiant, and necrotic. Then I would be kind of down to be able to have resistance to that for an hour, depending on how many times it takes the damage. And I think the damage here, the 3d6 definitely could be better. I know it is just as a bonus action, but it's a 6th level spell. It's a 6th level spell. And I'm not trying to be that negative or anything. You're gonna have a bunch of weird spheres or whatever else you flavor, like chickens or something flying around you, multicolored chickens, multicolored like swords and stuff, swords and shields for like a blade, for like a Blade Singer, you can have a bunch of shields and swords around you, and you can, you know, throw the sword that way for an energy blast, but then bring up a shield on you. Like, you could do cool things with the flavor of the spell. I just don't know if it's it's just an expensive 6th level spell, you know, or the spell slot is just expensive. You're only gonna really have one 6th level slot, and even though it non-concentration lasts for an hour, you get 6 charges of either absorb energy or energy blast. And then if you cast it with a higher level spell slot, you get 1 sphere more. But I don't know. Like, the flavor is cool. Like I said, Blade Singer, multicolored shields, multicolored swords, or the balls will form into a shield or form into a sword or something like that. But I don't know. I just think its effects are kind of underwhelming for this type of the spell slot that it costs. 6th level. You don't get that until 11. Level 11, right? Yeah. You don't get that until level 11. I think it could be better. If you added the other damage types and increased the damage here to maybe like even like 5d6 or something, or maybe, I don't know, 40-10. I am not an expert on balance. Maybe this is where they ended up because the other versions of the spell were too strong. But I don't know. It's an expensive spell, in my opinion. It's just a little nasty, or a little expensive for a semi underwhelming effect. But that's all I've got on it, honestly. On to Elminster's Elusion, which is a 2nd level abjuration spell for wizards. Casting down a bonus action, range yourself. Spells of verbal and somatic components, concentration for up to 10 minutes. Arcane wards protect you against magic for the duration. You have advantage on saving throws against spells and magical effects. Additionally, if you succeed on a saving throw against a spell or magic effect, you would normally take half as much damage. You instead take no damage. I think this is a decent spell. Again, I just built an abjuration wizard yesterday because I felt like it, and I was in a conversation with a DM that I'm in a game with. They're my backup character in case my current character dies. And I took this spell because I could definitely see where having this defensive effect would be worth concentration. You could be naturally you could be concentrating on things that could be more worth it, I suppose, or might prevent you from or just might kill the thing faster that's doing this. However, I like it. I am, as I said way earlier, I am down for more abjuration spells. Abjuration spells are probably some of the favorite spells I got in the game. Abjuration and Transmutation have some really neat stuff in there. You know, Abjuration's got Dispel Magic and Counterspell, and Transmutation has shit like Vortex Warp. I love Vortex Warp. One of my favorite spells. I take it on any time I can get Vortex Warp, I take it because I just like having that kind of battlefield control, you know? But in any case, I do like this spell. I think it's a fairly strong effect. You have advantage on all saving throws against spells and magical effects. And additionally, if you succeed, you take no damage. That's pretty solid for just a 2nd level slot, I think. It might not be the most actionable all the time, because, you know, there's still like attack rolls and people could be coming at you with that kind of stuff, and ranged attacks and arrows and stuff. But yeah, I think in the right situation, this spell is incredibly strong, and you can flavor the fucking ward whatever you want. You know, you always gotta think. Freaking, you can have your little shield bubble around you freaking any color, any design you want, man. You gotta. That's where my brain goes. Like, I love flavoring spells and making the spells turn into like other stuff, or describing how I cast spells, because I am poisoned forever by Critical Role, and I can never think of D&D separately from them again. At least like with how they describe the spell and stuff like that. It's fantastic, honestly. My brain has been opened up. But that's all I got to say on Elminster's Elusion. I like this spell personally, and I took it on my Abjuration Wizard because why not? Next spell is the Holy Star of Mystra, an 8th level evocation spell for clerics and wizards. Casting time of a bonus action, range itself, components are verbal and somatic, and with a concentration up to 1 minute. You create a glowing mote of energy that hovers above you for the duration. The mote sheds bright light in a 5-foot radius and dim light in an additional 5 feet. Not very large, but that's kind of a ribbon. That's kind of a nothing burger thing. I mean, not nothing, I guess, but when you cast a spell as a bonus action on later turns, you can unleash a shining bolt from the moat, targeting one creature within 120 feet of you to make a ranged spell attack on hit. The target takes a force or radiant damage of your choice equal to 40/10 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. In addition, while the moat is present, you have 3/4 cover, and you succeed on saving throw against a spell of 7th level or lower that targeted only you, and you didn't create the 7th level or lower that targeted only you and didn't create an area effect. You have a reaction to deflect that spell back at the spell's caster. The caster makes the same throw against the spell, blah 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 blah. That's the caster's own spell save DC. I like the Holy Star Mystra because the visual I've got of it is cool as hell, and you don't even have to make it like Mystra. You can make it a symbol of anything, literally anything above you, to represent this aura of not aura, that represent the effect of the spell. Giving yourself 3/4 cover is definitely not nothing. That's +5 bonus AC and dex saves. Can you imagine this shit on like a fucking Blade Singer? They're already getting high AC, and you can still cast freaking thing. And now you're making your attack rolls or casting your other blast spells. You get to do this with your bonus action. 4d10 plus your spellcasting modifier. You have way better AC too. Dude, I think this spell, I mean, I know it's 8th level, so maybe these effects are a little weak for like causing earthquakes and shit like that, but I think like practically in a combat scenario, I think this is a good spell for like a Blade Singer or something, or a heavily armored cleric. That's yeah, I mean, I like the spell. I really do. +5 to the AC permanently, and you can still cast the shield spell, or at least permanently while the spell's up, obviously. And then you get a non-small amount of radiant damage on your following turns. Definitely something to think about. And that's not even counting the spell reflect. Like if somebody tries to charm you or I don't know, cast disintegrate would work with you. Disintegrate could get countered by this spell. I think disintegrate's not. Isn't it like 6th level or something? I don't know. You'll have to look it up. I might. I'm here for entertainment over accuracy, my guys. So I apologize if I occasionally say something that is just completely wrong. Feel free to fact check me in the description. I will not get mad. I will appreciate you sharing that information to anybody else who watches the video. Anyway, Holy Star of Mystra is pretty cool, in my opinion. That leads us on to the next spell. And I'll be right back, actually. I want to go check on something. Okay, I'm back for the next spell, which is Silverlance? I don't know how to say their name. Laeral Silverlance? I don't know. Anyway, it is a 3rd level evocation spell for clerics, sorcerer, and wizard. It's casting time of action, range of self, verbal somatic material, a silver pin worth 250 gold. It does not consume it. Duration is instantaneous. Silver energy bursts out from you in a 120-foot long, 5-foot wide line. Each creature of your choice in the line must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, takes 3d10 force damage and has the prone condition. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage only. And then you get an extra d10 per spell level. I appreciate this spell for giving clerics another blast option. Just an instantaneous force of energy. Clerics don't get a ton of those. Sorcerers and wizards, why cast this when you can cast lightning bolt or fireball? You know, it's strength saving throws. There's a lot of strong monsters in the game, but really, cleric doesn't get a lot of these spells, so I think it might have some value on them. Even though 3d10 isn't the best. It's very swingy. Like fireball and lightning bolt I think are like 8d6 or something like that, which is, I've got a phone. How much potential max damage is that? 6 times 8, about 48 max damage. Average probably a little less than that. This spell is way more swingy since you're rolling less dice. Like casting a 3rd level spell to do 3 damage and 3 damage, devastating. But you know, I don't know. You could roll like 9, 8, and 7, or you could roll like 10, 10, and like 3. I would have preferred if it was something like, understand that they made it do less damage than Fireball and Lightning Bolt because it inflicted a condition, but I think I much would have preferred it be like 48 or something. 48 damage feels like it could have been okay. You get an extra dice or whatnot, and you're rolling more dice, so you got a higher chance of it doing okay. But I don't know. I appreciate it for what it is, which is a blast spell for clerics. Even though getting this component probably gonna be a little expensive. But yeah, that's all I got for Silver Lance, I think. Knocking everybody on their ass is pretty neat. But I feel like the dice could have been a little different, a little better even. But we appreciate clerics getting any kind of blast at all, honestly. Next to Simbul's Synostodweomer. This is a spell I've got no clue how to say. Gonna be honest. Gonna take a drink real quick. Casting time is a 7th level transmutation spell for sorcerers and wizards. Casting time bonus action, range of touch. Components are verbal and somatic, and it lasts for an hour. You imbue one creature you touch with magical healing energy for the duration. Whenever the target casts a spell using a spell slot, the target can immediately roll a number of unexpended hit point dice equal to the spell slot's total level, and regain hit points equal to the rolls plus your spellcasting ability modifier. Those dice are then expended. I am concerned that this is a very expensive spell that doesn't do anything, right? Because you have to cast this spell, and then whenever it does fuck all until they cast a spell, which seems like a waste of a turn. You know, it seems like a waste of a valuable turn, and it's a 7th level spell, and a waste of a valuable spell slot and an entire turn for it to do literally nothing until the target casts a spell. Yeah, with a spell slot, so none of the free Misty Steps or anything like that. And then you can roll a number of unexpended hit dice equal to the spell slot's level and regain hit points equal to the roll's total. So you could, I mean, I don't know. I appreciate adding features and spells that use hit dice actively during the day, because if you don't take a short rest, those hit dice kind of don't do anything. Like if you don't need a short rest during a day for some reason, because there's a lot of roleplay and stuff, or you just go from combat to long rest, then the hit dice don't really do a whole lot. However, I don't know. I'm stingy with my hit dice. Even when I have features like this, I don't tend to like to use them very often, because what if I do short rest? Then I got no hit dice to roll. So yeah. But I mean, more to that point, maybe like I was saying, some people just some days you just don't have combat, or days you don't have short rests, or you just go from big set piece combat to a rest immediately right after. So using this, and then you're able to use your hit dice to heal and whatnot. But I don't know if it. But I don't know about a 7th level spell. I don't know if that's worth a 7th level spell slot. Maybe a lower one, and then you can upcast it. But I really don't think this is worth a 7th level spell slot, because again, you have to touch a creature, and then whenever they target casts a spell using a spell slot. So if you were using this in combat, you just used your action to do nothing for an entire round, when you could have just casted something else. There are way better protective spells you will have at this level than this. I don't think it's great. This might be one of my least favorite spells here. As I really don't like that it does. There's nothing. It does nothing unless that target casts a spell with a spell slot. And again, not even again, this does fuck all if you cast it on somebody that doesn't use spell slots. Like, huh? What are you supposed to do with this spell? I don't know. I think I've said everything I can say on it. I don't think this spell's great. It's just it's so expensive for you to do absolutely nothing on a turn, and then it doesn't even work on people that don't use spell slots. It should have been something. It should have had this effect and something else. Something else that happens on the start when you immediately cast it, or like an alternate effect that helped martial characters or characters without spell slots. Then I could see casting it on. It should have had something else. Like, this is a okay thing for a spell to do, but the spell slot is way too expensive for it, and it might not work on half of your party, and it does nothing on roll around and cast it. I don't know how many times I can say that before it sinks in that it's rough. It is rough. Anyway, on to Songal's Elemental Suffusion, which is a 5th level transmutation spell for Druid, Sorcerer, and Wizard. Casting time of an action, range of self, verbal, somatic, material, pearl worth 100 GP. I mean, again, how does a 2nd level spell cost expend freaking 50 gold on that Onyx for what is it, Death Armor? And this spell it only costs 100 gold. It doesn't expend it. That's rough, man. Anyway, concentration for 1 minute. You imbue yourself with elemental power of the genies, and you get the following benefits. Elemental immunity. When you cast a spell, choose one of these. I feel like they should have just called it resistance, because when I first read this spell, I got excited that it would give you immunity to a damage type of your choice for as long as you were concentrating. But it doesn't. Just gives resistance to the chosen choice, which is good. It's always good to have a damage resistance when you need it. But it could have just named the feature elemental resistance instead of elemental immunity, you know? And then you get Elemental Pulse. When you cast a spell on the start of each of your turns and the subsequent turns, you get a burst of elemental energy, 15-foot emanation originating for yourself. It takes 2d6 of whatever you want. I'm glad that you don't have to use anything for this. It also can knock people prone if they fail the dex saving throw. I'm glad that it just happens in a 15-foot aura around you. That makes it kind of free. Get flight of 30 feet and can hover. While that's great, the spell Fly, which is 2 spells level lower than this, gives you 60 feet. So I feel like it could have had a little bit more flying, but the spell already does a lot of things. And then if it's cast as a circle spell, casting time increases to 1 minute and its duration concentration up to 10 minutes. For each secondary caster who participates in the casting, you choose 1 additional creature with a maximum of 9 additional creatures. They also gain the benefits of the spell. So, Elemental Suffusion by itself, I think, is okay. A 5th level slot is a little expensive for a damage resistance, a d6 every turn that knocks people prone and flight. However, it is not it. If you're a caster that can cast this, then you have like a paladin or an Eldritch Knight, and then like a wizard or something on your and a wizard. If all of your party members are people that have spell slots of some kind, or at least most of the party is. Maybe you got a barbarian, but like your other party members are you, this caster that can be either a druid, sorcerer, or wizard, and then you have like a paladin along with the barbarian, or like a arcane trickster, and another like a bard or something. Then cast circle spell casting this for 1 minute and then going into a combat with these effects going on. I think that's when the spell becomes actually rather strong, because then if you have multiple people having this AoE going on every turn with them not having it just happens. I mean, they also take half damage. If you surround people with this where they're getting hit by multiple times, then that and potentially multiple creatures getting hit multiple times, like if how the initiative turns out, it's like a couple of y'all, there's a good couple of you guys blocked together, then suddenly that becomes like 2, 4, 6, 8 d6 damage for free, because it just happens at the start of your turns. If you surround a boss creature or something, and you can choose which creatures take this thing, which each creature of your choice in the area, so I think it could stack up fairly well if you have a good party dynamic of people that can help you circle cast this, because this it does require everybody to expend at least a 2nd level spell slot, but I think it potentially could be worth it to a very, very strong in that sense. But by itself, casting it without circle casting, I think is maybe not the best use of your concentration. It's a 5th level spell. There's definitely probably some stronger spell to concentrate on by this time. But circle casting this for like most of your party, if at least everybody by this level has a 2nd level spell slot, and to get 5th level spells, it would be the 9th level. I think paladins and arcane tricksters and stuff like that should definitely have second level slots at that point, and I think that would be worth it. Then I think it would be worth it, especially concentration up to 10 minutes, and you just be careful and protect yourself to maintain concentration. Most certainly is great. Most certainly definitely could be worth it for giving these effects to all of your party, or at least most of your party. Anybody who can help you circle cast it. I think it really hits its stride if you get at least like maybe if you have 3 or 4 people they have second level spell slots that you can use for this, and then I think it's pretty good. But anyway, on to Spellfire Flare. You unleash which is a first level evocation spell for sorcerers and wizards. Action, 60 feet, a verbal somatic, instantaneous. You unleash a blast of brilliant fire. Make a ranged spell attack against the target with a target within range. The target gains no benefit from a half cover or 3/4 cover for this attack roll. On hit, the target takes 2d8 radiant damage. And then you can make an additional blast for each spell slot above 1 and direct the same blast to the same target or different ones. I think this is probably one of my favorite spells that they've added here, because the flavor is great. You can flavor any kind of ranged spell attack as anything, really, which makes it really cool. But 2d8 radiant damage is pretty solid, I think, for a first level spell. Definitely for an attack roll. That attack rolls are easier to confirm than failing a saving throw, because you could have advantage on the attack roll. You could have a high modifier hit. It's something you have control over, more easy control over than somebody else failing a saving throw. So reliable and can hit through cover, which could come up. It could be better with like an extra effect, but I think it's pretty solid. But then you upcast it. And you get additional blasts that you can send all at the same person or send to different people. But I'm here thinking I would just probably send this all into one guy. Because you get an additional blast, which is basically another 2d10. So second level, this is 4d10. If you cast this with a third level spot, this is 6d10 damage to somebody if you're able to hit with all attacks, right? 6d10 is not small. That is not bad, because like a fireball or something is 8d6, but that gets spread around, right? That gets spread around on a bunch of characters, which definitely would do more than casting this Spellfire Flare at a higher spell slot. But if there's only one person around, then Fireball with a third level spell isn't really that worth it. I mean, it's worth it for the memes, of course. We all like Fireball. Fireball's great, good for the memes. But if you could easily confirm your ability to hit this 3 times, then like 2d10 may be a more swingy dice, because your chances of rolling like higher are lower, if that makes sense, so there's more numbers to potentially roll. But like 6d10 radiant damage on somebody for a third level spell slot, I think is pretty solid. I think it's okay. I mean, maybe that's just me. I just happen to like the spell. I think it's nice and simple, and you can't hide from me. But moving on to Spellfire Storm, 4th level evocation spell for sorcerer and wizard. Casting time of an action, range of 60 feet. Components are verbal and somatic, and he has concentration up to 1 minute. You conjure a big pillar, 20-foot radius, 20-foot high cylinder within a point within range. The area is bright light. Each creature hit when it makes appear blah 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 makes a Constitution saving throw, taking 4d10 radiant damage on a failed save, or have as much as a successful one. Creature makes a save when it enters the spell area for the first time. Blah blah blah. In addition, whenever a creature in the cylinder casts a spell, that creature must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the spell dissipates with no effect. In addition, the bonus action or reaction used to cast it is wasted. The spell is cast in the spell slot. The spell slot isn't expended. You can cast the spell. You can designate which creatures are to be unaffected by it. And then when you cast it as a circle spell, you have to expend a fucking massive amount of money. Increases to 1 mile, and it no longer requires concentration when the spell is cast. Each secondary caster must expend a third level spell slot, and then it can last for a good while. I think that this is a pretty solid spell. It's a big cylinder, 40 foot diameter, 20 foot radius cylinder that fucks up people casting spells inside of it. That could be good depending on who you're fighting, but the biggest part, the most important part, is you can designate which creatures to be unaffected by it. So if you're barbarian or your fighter or paladin, your melee people are in no danger of taking the damage or having their spells with, not that barbarians have spells, but you know what I mean. And those people could most certainly keep an enemy in the effect somehow. Like if they have the right build choices, which are common, build choices for them depending on what they're trying to do. What can most certainly keep people inside this spell, like you keep a wizard in here. It is a Constitution saving throw, but very, I think, potentially debilitating to another caster. And even if their spell does go off, well, fuck them, counterspell them, right? Then they gotta make another saving throw to avoid it being counterspelled. I think Spellfire Storm is pretty alright. I don't know if it's amazing. Like I said, I keep saying, not an optimizer or anything, but I think it's pretty okay, in my opinion. Pretty okay. And I'm sorry if you can hear my chair squeaking or doing. Anyway, going on to second to last spell. Is this Syluné's Viper? I think it's Faerûn. It's a third level conjuration spell for druids or wizards. Takes a bonus action, range of self. Components are verbal, somatic, and material. Duration of an hour. Non-concentration. Important non-concentration. This just, you get it. A shimmering spectral snake encircles your body for the duration. You gain 25 temporary hit points. The spell ends early if you have no temporary hit points left. When the spell is active, you gain the following benefits. Climbing, you get a climb speed equal to your speed, and venomous bite. As a magic action, you can make a ranged spell attack using the snake against one creature within 50 feet. On hit, the target takes 1d6 force damage as the poison condition until the start of your next turn. While poisoned, the target has the incapacitated condition. Now, I think Syluné's Viper is pretty alright. It's pretty good. You get a bunch of temporary hit points, and a not bad amount of temporary hit points for like a wizard or something. Not a bad amount of temporary hit points. It's pretty okay. Though you do have to be careful. The spell ends early if you have no temporary hit points left, which you can imagine it's the spell, the snake in the spell that's taking the attacks for you, and once you take enough attacks, it's gone. You get the climbing speed equal to your speed, which is okay, but it has the poison and incapacitated condition. And until the start of your next turn, poison, disadvantage on all attack rolls and ability checks. Incapacitated condition. You can't take any action, bonus action, or reaction. Your concentration is broken. You can't speak, and you're incapacitated when you're rolling. It should be a disadvantage on the roll. So even though this is the third level spell for getting a climb speed, you get a bunch of fair amount of temporary hit points, and then you make Yeah, and only for 1d6 force damage. However, as I was just saying about Spellfire Flare, you definitely have more control over making a ranged spell attack than you do a saving throw. There are definitely a lot of ways to, like, pretty much giving yourself advantage, having the lucky point or something to having the lucky feat to give yourself advantage, increasing your stats to get a high saving throw, against this, high saving throw and whatnot. And so the fact that this is an attack roll against the poison condition and the incapacitating condition together. Granted, because of the new incapacitated condition, they can still move around. They can still move, but they can't do fuck all. And like the to free inflict the incapacitated condition, every single turn, because this happened until the start of your next turn. So you throw this at them, right? And you just stay away from. They can't wait. No, they can't even attack you. No action, no bonus action, no reaction. And even if they do have something they can do outside of that, they probably have disadvantage on it. And the fact that this is not a saving throw, this is something pretty much completely under your control, give or take the dice, where you can just constantly poison, incapacitated, and then this part about if you ends early if you have no temporary hit points left doesn't fucking matter. This is a horribly nasty spell against a boss creature. I would be very, very wary against this spell in your games if you're a DM, and for a druid or a wizard that can take this spell, because this is fucking gross. Like I said, there are tons of ways to get a very high bonus to your attack roll, or hell, just to outright confirm it if you're a divination wizard and choose like, I'm just gonna get a 17 right now, and then add my spell attack modifier, and then if I got any magic items or whatnot by this level, that's probably gonna hit, right? And it's just gross. It's a nasty, nasty spell. This is not a saving throw. This is an attack roll that inflicts these. So even though it does not a great amount of damage for a third level spell, because this is the same level as like Lightning Bolt and Firebolt, but like I think this spell is nasty. You get climb speed, temporary hit points, not bad, but this here. Like, this definitely probably worth the third level spell, just to basically have a very high chance to confirm the poison and incapacitated condition together. This spell is gonna be scary. Very, very, very scary against boss creatures. Be careful out there with your boss creatures, guys, because this spell's coming for them. And incapacitated, not great. Poisoned. I mean, poison condition already was all right. To confirm the poison, agreeing. There's a lot of creatures with immunity to the poison condition, but not a lot. But less creatures immune to the. Okay, no. They have to be poisoned until while poisoned target has the incapacity condition. So maybe if you're worried against this spell, just give your creature immunity to the poison condition. And I know there's quite a lot of creatures immune to the poison condition out there, my guys. A lot of them. So maybe this spell, I was glazing the spell too much before I kind of looked at it again. But even still, what about against your big bads? You know, your enemy NPC types, like evil wizards that have been fighting your party, or a rogue, or you're in a city where you're fighting mostly people, mostly humanoids. Not a lot of people are gonna have, like, not a lot of those types of characters are gonna have immunity to the poison condition, outside of maybe like certain things like that. So like it's still pretty nasty, and there's a ton of way, like if you have a ranger or something, they can find those resistances, or you have a fighter, battle master with know your enemy, you can find those resistances before you cast the spell. In the right party, this thing is gross against the right creatures, at least I think. Anyway, on to the last spell, which is Wardaway. First level abjuration, bard, cleric, paladin, and wizard spell. Casting time of action, 60 feet, verbal somatic material, miniature clay hand, instantaneous. You hurl a disorienting magical force towards the creature within range. Makes a con save. Construction undead automatically succeed the save. Unfortunate. On a failed save, the target takes 1d4 force damage at speed it has until the start of your next turn. On its next turn, it can only take an action or bonus action, not both. On a successful save, the target has half as much damage only. So, it's kind of the same. Unfortunately, this is a saving throw, and it's a con save, which a lot of things are going to have a really good con save. So you do have to be careful about that. You really do. You have to be careful about that one. And it's only 2d4 damage, which could be better. Could be worse, I suppose. 2d4 for a first level spell is pretty not great, but they get speed halved if they fail to save, and they can only take an action or a bonus action, not both. Which for a lot of creatures, honestly, especially ones in the early game, probably not the biggest deal in the world. Not a lot of like starting creatures are gonna have a lot of things to do with their bonus action. But I kind of have a soft spot for the Wardaway spell. I don't know why. I'm reading it, and, con save. Like I said, one of the most common saves around. But I don't know, guys. I still think it's nice. I still think it's nice to have the option, because I again, as I was saying earlier in the video, I just built an abjuration wizard, where I took this spell and I was like, well, I mean, worst case scenario, I give myself a little bit of my arcane ward, and it's having a creature's speed is not a terrible debuff for a first level spell. And then action or bonus action, and then I'm buffing my arcane ward while I'm at it. Why not? I do like that the upcast is 2d4 for every spell slot. That definitely helps the spell out, though I probably don't imagine people upcasting it that often. But yeah, no, it's fine, I think. Probably on the little weak side. I don't know why constructs and undead automatically succeed on the save. That seems kind of unnecessary. It's not like that strong of an effect. It's not a lot of damage, not a lot of just reducing the speed, and can't take action or bonus action. So I'm not sure why they wanted to make constructs and undead automatically succeed the save. That seems kind of rude to me, since the spell already isn't like the best spell in the world. But whatever floats your boat, Wizard of the Coast. But yeah, in any case, that is all of the spells. Hello, I had to record a new outro for the spells video just because I was an idiot and being indecisive about something. In any case, I thank you if you watched all this, watched me ramble for all that, and if you'd like to support me, I do have my Discord server in the description. Yeah, I know how to be a YouTuber, guys. I got the Discord server in the description if you'd like to join my community. I always would love to have more people to talk to, and if you want to support me monetarily in any way, my Ko-Fi will always be down there. I am also working on Twitch affiliate, so if you'd like to help me out there, I got to get around 25 followers. I think I have about 16. So feel free to help me out if you like. But otherwise, you have a good time zone, and I hope I see you around again.